ผมเปิดไม่ได้เขาบอกว่าผมจะไม่ยังเป็นโพสก็เลยไม่สามารถเปิดจอได้เรื่องโพงอ่ะลำโพงอยู่
Good evening, Kun Sopon.
Good evening, sir. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. How are you?
Fine, sir.
Good. Good.
You are maybe too much space on your head, sir.
I'm sorry?
Too much space on your head. And
yeah. Hold on. I didn't see my picture. I wanted to see my picture. Hold on.
Wow,
yeah,
you are
okay,
really...
hold on a second. Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay. You're still really young.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, let me try again. Try again. Hold on.
That's fine. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Hold on. One more. Hold on.
Mr. Dr. Om, are you there? Dr. Om Rashmandari.
Good evening, Dr. Sapon.
Good evening, sir. So at least three of us are here.
Dr. Shomo.
Oh, Mr. Philip Low.
Philip.
You are former students.
Haven't seen you for a long time.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I can't see you.
Can you see me?
No, I cannot.
You
no
cannot.
Picture.
I see you. I see three of you, four of you.
Well, I can only see Dr. Sopon and Dr. Shomo.
Right,
I don't
right.
see anybody. Only
You
you.
cannot?
Just two of you.
No, because Kun Sopon is sharing his screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think maybe a few of your students are here.
That's good. That's good.
I also Professor Ranjit Pereira from Sri Lanka, but I don't know whether he can come or not. And someone else. We have Mr. Bill Jones here, Mr. Dastrew Netres, Mr. Hanlo, and Mr. Jennifer, yes, Mr. Kimwa, and Mr. Nestor Correa from the Philippines.
I see.
And Sai Hanlin, yeah. Also someone else. Yeah, we actually today we have around 100 something participants, but I don't know any of them may all come or not. But the registration is around 100 of them here. So thanks for everyone for coming. So we will now it is another 2 minutes to 7 o'clock in Bangkok time. So in 2 minutes we will start. So when we start, I will just introduce Professor Shlomo Angel a bit, but you can also introduce yourself, and you can speak around say 15 minutes or something, and then you can share your screen, and then it will be the turn of Dr. Om Rashpadari from Nepal, another 50 minutes, and then I will be the third one. So altogether, it may be finished in 1 hour or 1 hour something, so that it won't be too long for us. So this should be the sequence. And thank you for my professor and Dr. Om Rashmandari, for our speakers, and my senior, Mr. Lo from Hong Kong, and other participants here. Thank you very much for joining us. So today we will discuss about how to transform urban slums to urban neighborhood. So how we can do that. There may be some many good ideas from my professor and also my boss from Nepal, because he's a big real estate developers and also help improve slum in the inner city area in Nepal as well, in Kathmandu. And we also met Dr. Hans Verschuur from Belgium in Nepal as well a few years ago. Okay, so now it should be the time to start. So let me just start now. We have 20 participants already. Say maybe 1/5 of, or maybe 1/6 or something of our registration, 22 already. So we just start. So first, let me greeting everyone for this session. This session is run by the FEFC Thailand. FEFC is the International Real Estate Federation based in Paris. And in Thailand, I'm the president of the FEFC chapter. And in FEFC board member, I'm also a board member of FEFC, and also the president of the FEFC Council of Experts. We have Council of Brokers, Council of Experts, Council of Managers, and Council of Developers. I'm the president of Council of Experts, including valuers, planners, and also other professions related to real estate, like architecture, architect, and engineer. So these are our FEFC. FEFC has been here for over 70 years already. But I joined in around year 2001 or something. So maybe late. So this session we will discuss about how to transform urban slum to urban neighborhood. And we have first to keynote speech from first from Professor Dr. Shlomo Angel from the New York University. Actually, he is my professor. He was my professor and still my professor. And my first time 38 years ago, but he still look very young. But I'm old now, and also now still very active in slums and urban development and many other related fields. So maybe Professor Angel, you may kindly introduce yourself and start your session, please.
Thank you, Kun Sopon. I'm very glad to be here and to make a presentation. I'll share my screen. Hold on 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay.
I see it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you today about how to transform urban slums into urban neighborhoods, a topic which is close to my heart. The word slum has 170 years history. It is generally a derogatory word with negative connotation. A London priest defined it in 1850 as follows. Close under the Abbey of Westminster, they lie concealed labyrinths of lanes and potty and alleys and slums, nests of ignorance, vice, depravity, and crime, as well as squalor, wretchedness, and disease, whose atmosphere is typhus, whose ventilation is cholera, in which swarms of huge and almost countless population, nominally at least Catholic, haunts of filth which no sewage committee can reach, dark corners which no lighting board can brighten. The word slum has been applied to a host of different settlement types which have different names in different countries. Among them, sorry, I have to, oh, sorry, here. Among them, Shantytown, Favela, Gesekondu, Skid Row, Barrio, Bidonville, Tegurio, Ghetto, Barrio Marginal, and Barriada, to name a few. There's very little in common among these different settlement types. Typically, they house poor people. Sometimes their structures are rudimentary and sometimes not. Sometimes they are overcrowded and sometimes not. Sometimes they do not have proper infrastructure or secure tenure. There are myriad ways to transform slums into urban neighborhoods, and I will dwell on some of them today by way of examples. The first important way to transform slums into urban neighborhoods is to simply stop using the word slum. I know very few people who refer to their own neighborhood as a slum. Other people may brand it as a slum, but they don't. For many years, those of us concerned with housing policy strictly avoided the use of the word slum when describing the settlements of the poor. We called them human settlements, spontaneous settlements, or informal settlements, but not slums. UN Habitat made a big mistake, and I told them so in no uncertain terms when they issued a report titled The Challenge of Slums, Global Report on Human Settlements in 2003. In this report, they claimed, wrongly, that 1 billion people, some 50% of the urban population in the cities in less developed countries, lived in slums. And if no serious action is taken, they warned, the number of slum dwellers worldwide is projected to rise over the next 30 years, i.e. by 2030, to about 2 billion. They have been retreating from these numbers ever since. They estimated the world's slum population at 863 million in 2014. At some point, they claimed that 28% of China's urban population lived in so-called slums, which made no sense at all. So, I propose to you today to simply stop referring to urban neighborhoods as slums. This is degrading and unwarranted. It also puts people in danger. When a neighborhood is declared a slum, the state can use its power of eminent domain, the power to obtain property by force of law, for slum clearance and redevelopment. This was the unfortunate fate of Boston's West End neighborhood, a thriving working class, tightly knit community of some 20,000 people with a lot of social capital that was declared for slum clearance and redevelopment project in the late 1950s. There was no reason to destroy it, except for the fact that the richer people of Boston who formed its power structure viewed it as a slum. In an important way, slums are the places housing the poor. Economic development is one important way to transform them into urban neighborhoods. Indeed, there's no doubt that there's a strong correlation between the prevalence of slums and GDP per capita. The poorer a country is, the larger the share of its urban population that lives in slums. When countries move out of poverty, the share of their urban population living in shanty towns declines. Singapore is one country that has successfully managed to replace its shanty towns with public housing. There's no shanty towns in Singapore. But Singapore is now a very rich country. Its GDP per capita is now higher than that of the United States. We can say, therefore, that economic development is an important way to transform slums into urban neighborhoods. Singapore, it is important to mention here, is the only country that managed to house the majority of its population, except for the very rich, in public housing. More than 80% of its people now live in publicly built housing. In many high-income countries, we still find shanty towns and homeless encampments. Why? Because homelessness is not a manifestation of average income in a country, say GDP per capita, but of inequality. In cities with high levels of inequality, and most of our thriving megacities are extremely unequal, we find people who cannot afford to buy or rent a home in the real estate market. House prices and rents are simply out of reach for them. In this sense, the call for transforming cities into urban neighborhoods is a call for a revolution that will put an end to rising inequality. Homeless encampments are, for those preaching revolution, a potent visual symbol of the intolerable conditions engendered by inequality. In the meantime, while we're patiently waiting for the revolution, we can still ask ourselves, how can we transform slums into urban neighborhoods? My short answer to that, and I will give several examples to illustrate my answer, is that we need to look at the specific conditions confronting the people who live in these slums and ask ourselves how we can improve their housing situation. We must move away from looking at slums from the outside and transport ourselves into these communities so that we can look at their predicament from the inside. We cannot simply sacrifice these people for an elusive common good. The increase in homelessness in the United States is not simply a matter of the rising unaffordability of homes. We can cite two other factors. First, we destroyed single-room occupancy housing. Second, we closed down state mental hospitals. Single-room occupancy housing, or SRO housing, provided cheap and affordable rooms for people who didn't need much more. We would do well to recreate it, and it would be help moving people out of encampments. This slide shows an example of a large rooming house in San Francisco built at the turn of the century. Second, we need to create communal housing, housing that is provided together with essential social services, that are needed by the mentally ill or by those ill-equipped to live in ordinary housing. Both are ways to transform slums into urban communities by responding directly to the needs of those now living in homeless encampments. In 1976, during the emergency in India, the governor of New Delhi, Jagmohan, with the support of Indira Gandhi and her son Sanjay Gandhi, evicted 600,000 slum dwellers from their homes. He simply loaded them into military trucks and drove them out of town. His justification was that they were bad for the environment. They were not clean. Their houses were ugly and unkempt. Well, Jagmohan did not have the interests of those slum dwellers in mind. For him, they really did not exist. They were not real people. Indeed, for many years, maps of Indian cities showed slum areas as vacant. The poor people living there were invisible to the authorities. Indeed, one important way to transform slums into urban neighborhoods is to make them more visible to the authorities. Efforts to map slums, for example, like those of Slum Dwellers International, are based on the importance of making slums more visible. A good example of such efforts is the 2005 slum mapping project conducted by the Center for Urban Studies in Dhaka. The object was to put slums on the map so that they cannot be simply ignored. What strikes me is that transforming slums into viable neighborhoods always hinges on understanding the specific conditions of the people living in the slums, because these conditions vary from place to place. Let me give a few examples. The first one has to do with overcrowding, a prevalent condition in many slums, typically brought about by the need to be closer to places of work. The 6-story walk-up buildings in the neighborhoods within walking distance of the Port of New York in Lower Manhattan, where many jobs for immigrants were located, became extremely overcrowded during the second half of the 19th century. The issue of concern was the reduction of overcrowding. It was solved by annexing Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx to New York, creating affordable housing subdivisions there, and building subways that by law charged 5 cents per ride. This made it possible for most workers who were earning $2 a day to move out of these neighborhoods to the suburbs. Overcrowding was basically eliminated less than 20 years later. Overcrowding is still prevalent today in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but the problem there is different. Most of the city is built with single-story housing. The problem there, it seems, is a financial one. There's no market for mortgages, and not even for small microloans that could finance additions and improvements to homes, and possibly more stories. These people need credit, and there is no credit. The increased availability of credit can certainly help reduce overcrowding there, accelerating the transformation of slums in Kinshasa into regular urban neighborhoods. A second instrument to accelerate this transformation is secure land tenure. There's a solid evidence that removing the threat of eviction and assuring people that they will not be evicted accelerates investments in home improvement. Orangi, shown here, the largest slums in Karachi and one of the largest in the world, experienced a massive investment in home improvements once the threat of eviction was removed. A third instrument, one popular with the development banks like the World Bank, is the upgrading of slum infrastructure, bringing in roads and walkways, water, sewage, and drainage pipes, and electricity, and sometimes public services such as public open spaces and community centers. An important example of the critical role of infrastructure upgrading is the provision of improved drainage in slums located on the steep slopes in Guatemala City that are subject to mudslides. More than 1 million people live in these settlements. The municipality proposed to resettle them, although there was no plan nor a budget to carry such a resettlement out. A geotechnical engineering firm proposed improved drainage systems that would allow 95% of them to stay where they are. There's no question, however, that bringing in infrastructure to slums that were built incrementally over time is difficult and expensive. There are estimates that in Brazil, for example, it costs 3 to 6 times more than providing infrastructure before houses are built. This was indeed done in the squatter settlement of Comas, shown here, a land invasion on the outskirts of Lima that started in Peru, that started in the late 1950s. The organizers of the invasion had engineering students from the local university survey the site before they invaded. As a result, Comas is now a desirable neighborhood in Lima. Houses there on plots of 10 by 20 meters costs as much as 180,000. To the extent that municipalities can engage informal developers and slum entrepreneurs in properly laying out their lands before they sell plots, it would make it much easier to provide infrastructure in this community. This will make it easier for such communities to transform into regular urban neighborhoods. It is important to keep in mind that housing in and of itself is worthless unless it has good access to the urban job markets and to urban amenities. For poor people, access to jobs is of prime importance and more important than good quality housing. The pavement dwellers in Indian cities often have adequate housing, but it is too far from their jobs. They cannot afford the fare to their low-paying jobs, so they must stay close to their job. This is why they live on the pavement. For such people, the 5-cent fare instituted in New York for the subways at the turn of the 20th century would be the proper solution for their slum existence. Building good housing, good standard housing, away from the urban job market is no help to people who need to be close to their jobs. The Housing Finance Organization of Mexico, Infonavit, built housing throughout the country with an emphasis on ensuring that houses were of an adequate standard.
Professor,
But
it is 20 minutes already. Sorry, sir.
Yes, I'm going to be finished soon.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Thank you.
These houses were built too far away, and over 600,000 of them have been abandoned. The focus must be on the beneficiaries of such housing. These abandoned communities could thrive if they were connected with good, cheap, reliable, and frequent public transportation. People who live in slums are not there because the quality of housing there. They are there because they need access to jobs. The poor people accept bad housing conditions to be close to job opportunities they have and are trying to hold on to the land they occupy. And it would come to no surprise that this is precisely the land that is desirable by private sector developers who would like to see slum clearance, which is not in the interest of slum dwellers. I want to just show you a couple of projects, the land sharing project in Bangkok, which maybe Kun Sopon will talk about it later. One of these proposed to resettle slums in high-rise housing. But the problem with high-rise housing is that it doesn't take care of the jobs in these slums, the industry in these slums. You see, for example, here in Dharavi, the largest slums in Mumbai, that there is an incredible amount of industry that is not being taken care of when we rehouse people in high-rise housing. Another element, and the last example that I gave, is making these communities safe. Making these communities safe makes them a lot more valuable. Here we see gangs in Rio de Janeiro and police raids to try to take care of the gang problem. Finally, changes in making slums into urban neighborhoods will not happen unless people fight for them, unless people organize and demonstrate. And these are examples of demonstrations against evictions in Spain and against gentrification in Germany. And this kind of brings me to the end of my lecture. I just want to emphasize again that what we are trying to do is trying to solve the problems of these people rather than to get rid of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Shlomo Angel, for your contribution. So sorry that I allocate only the amount of time So next, let me introduce Mr. Omraj Bandari. Dr. Omraj Bandari is one of the largest developers in Nepal, and he has been contributing a lot for the society and also helping upgrading slums in the inner city area in the hub of the central business district, the hub of Kathmandu. And he has been really successful in developing housing for middle income group, low income group, and high income group as well. So let us listen to Dr. Omraj Bandari from Kathmandu, Nepal. Please, Dr. Om.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Sapwan. And once again, thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker for today's webinar on transformation, for transferring urban slums into the urban neighborhood, which is a very, very important session, especially for the Kathmandu itself. So as Dr. Sapwan introduced me earlier, that I'm Omraj Bandari. I'm an executive chairman for this Brihat Investment, Brihat Group. I'm involved with the Nepal Land and Housing Developer Associations too, as well as I was the Urban Development Committee chairpersons in a Federation of Nepali Chamber of Commerce of Industry. So I have been working with many institutions in multiple ways, but this is a very, very important subject for the Kathmandu too, the transforming urban slums into the urban neighborhood. So as earlier speaker describes in a many aspects of the global scenario about the urban slum, which is very, very meaningful as well as the educative. So I'll go through with my slides. So this is my presentation is focused onto the Kathmandu Valley. So this is the scenario, which is a very lovely city among the world, the Kathmandu, as you have seen from the aerial, especially in this Diwali. It was really beautiful. It's really beautiful, weather-wise, everything. We have so many historical sites, so it's very lovely. So I would like to welcome everyone who are attending these sessions to the Kathmandu also. Now almost we welcome the guests also. The COVID pandemic is, the situations in Kathmandu is improving, and there is not much more restrictions also as on date. So this is the scenario of the Kathmandu urban area. And if you see that this is the core capital, core heart of the Kathmandu, if you see this, the alleys of capital, this is core areas of inside Kathmandu Valley. So just see with this where the infrastructure is inadequate and the service area are very narrow. And this is, we are facing the extreme urban vulnerability. So there is a very difficult access for fire brigades as well as the ambulance in case of emergency. Though you can see many of the new buildings too, but still there are so many old buildings and it's in a very narrow alley. So even into the emergency also, narrow, because of the narrow route and access routes would get blocked due to the collapse in case of earthquake. So we are facing this extreme urban vulnerability, though there are new buildings also, but still then we are facing.
Excuse me, Dr. Om, your slide is not moving. Your slide is not moving.
Okay, just let me check what happened. Is this okay?
It moved now. Your slides disappear.
Now
coming.
okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a problem in our. So problem in our city core area is, number one, it's very dense settlement, very, very dense settlement. It is one of the highest in South Asia. And it's highly vulnerable buildings without possibility of seismic retrofitting. And another is poor accessibility, especially for emergency services, inadequate infrastructure, and most important is underutilized economic potentials. Same way, there are so many historic heritage which are at high risk due to the seismic as well as the fire hazards. And also,
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. You may have to go to slide number 7 or something. Slide number 7.
yeah,
Yes. It disappear again. Your slide disappear again. Your slide disappear again.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Now we have 34 participants. Thank you for coming. Some suggestion that you hit the arrow key when you advance slides. Coming.
Coming? Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir. Now on page 7, you may go to page 8. Page 8.
I don't know what's.
Yes, page 8 now. This is a problem in your city.
This is a problem in our city core area. One is its historic heritage at high risk due to the seismic and fire hazards, and also due to the current trend of building repair. So it's more important is it's degenerating the economic activities. So if we could not address properly on time, then Kathmandu, the beautiful city, will convert into the slum capital of the world. So that's the main problem that we are facing these days. Next. So the recent challenges faced during the 2015 earthquake in Nepal and its impact is, one is the bylaws changes for building safety, and another is the accessibility in case of disasters. This was the major challenges we faced during the 2015 earthquake. And recently with this COVID-19, its impact is, first is health, and second is importance of health, well-ventilated homes, and another is economic sustainability, because there was no transportations during that time. So people, the small entrepreneurs, they cannot commute. So their importance is that they need to do their business into the core city area. So for this area, they could not survive even. One is the restrictions of the commute, and second is that they could not do their day-to-day business. So they are deprived of getting their incomes too. The only possible solutions in that core area is the house pooling to solve this problem in core areas. So house pooling is introduced to manage the existing chaos in the city's core area. So this concept consists of acquisitions of house in a congested area belonging to a large number of owners. Like as a developer, we are acquiring the land, the piece of parcel land, and then we build a new project. So same way, we need to buy the small all houses, and we need to rebuild that into the one as a community. So it's then planned with all necessary infrastructures such as road, water supply, drainage, electricity, open spaces, and community service area. Then you make that into consolidated and given back to the owners of the same community or others. The benefit is the quality of living will be high with economical cost of living. Second is the proper infrastructure and services that can depend on in the event of disaster like earthquake, fire, all these type of things. And another is we can make this town as aesthetically beautiful too. So even in abroad also, there are many incentives adopted like property tax exemptions, tax amendment, and renovations tax amendment, for which even here in Nepal also, we are advocating this to the government of Nepal too. So what should be the role of government? One is legal acquisition of land, one first, foremost. Second is infrastructure development like drainage system, access road, water supply, etc. That has to be done by the government. Government should take the lead. And third is ease in ownership transfer, because we Nepalese community, we believe on ownership. So once we get our property in our own name, we feel very safe. So another is interest rebate, because even today also home loan is very expensive. It is coming around 10, 11%. So for these type of things, the government should impose an interest. There should be a rebate on interest. And another is the property tax also. Like these days, when you transfer, the registration fee is 5%. So in this type of project, it should be low. And as far as the private sector is concerned, the private sector's involvement should be, the one is the capital investment. Second, they should do the constructions. And third is the community formations. These roles should be taken care by the private sector. And how you can implement this is, in our opinion, the first step is that identifications of the area and community formations, because community has a great role on this. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to acquisitions of land. So second is valuation of land and building. Then third, only you can do the planning and design according to the bylaws and all these open spaces, adequate infrastructure, services, all facilities. Then finally, we can do the constructions as required. And the pricing may differ for the stakeholders. So one is the community stakeholders, and second is the people within the same locality. Because here we are not only talking about the tangible heritage, we are talking about the intangible heritage too. Because the people of one community living in that area, if we transfer them into the another area, so another type of people will come, which they might not be interested to continue the intangible heritage. So to maintain the tangible as well as intangible heritage, we need to give the product to same locality, same community of that area. So as per the time, the prices may vary also. The developers will get the profit out of the additional par or something like that. And products should be of the mixed design, residential, commercial. So we just recently come up with one project, which is very interesting. So I'll go through with that project too. If you see, this is a before. Before we develop, this was the scenario. It's in the very core city area, like the Dharara, which is the tallest monuments here. So it's just 50 meters away from that area, but it's a small alley, 10 feet of alley. So in that 10 feet of alley, this was the building, and it's of near about 12,000 square feet of land. So there we built one of the commercial building. So this is a present existing building. And now it's totally thereby enhancing the urban neighborhood. So we have changed this neighborhood here. Danif Home is one brand, which is now we are having here in the same building. So after this building was made, the whole neighborhood, which previously was a small dark alley, now converted into the urban commercial hub. So many commercial bigger ventures are now coming in that area. So it's totally changed now. One is this, and on the same area, we have another project. You can see this. It's a new modern apartment block built in the core area of Kathmandu. thereby enhancing the urban neighborhood. So just within the premises of the commercial block, luxury living redefined in the core area of the valley. So if you see the prices before we built this project, that time the prices is around $125 per square feet. Now the price has gone up, minimum 300 rupees, $300 per square feet, land only. When you develop the projects, you will get additional benefit of the project also. So just before and after, that small alley has converted into the urban neighborhood, highly commercial. These are the some of the photographs of that project, Tarara apartment. This is the entrance area, and we have a beautiful mock-up. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. This is a drawing room, and this is also a drawing room. And this is kitchen cum dining. This is 1 bedroom, and we have another bedroom too. So the conclusion is that with all these underlying steps, we can surely enhance quality of life in the core area and prevent it from being urban slums. So accessibility in case of disaster will be a major achievement along with sustainability and economic regeneration. So this is the example only. So by doing these type of projects in a city core area, we can change and we can make as a beautiful, aesthetically beautiful Kathmandu Valley. So the urban slum into the urban neighborhood is the transforming process. This is the example of Kathmandu. So I conclude my presentations here. If you have any questions, then just please let me know. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sapon.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Also very knowledgeable and very great indeed. So these are some information. If you need to know more, I will send the contact of my professor Shlomo Angel and Dr. Om to everyone, including the files. So your presentation of both of you can be highly sent to me so that I will send to all the participants, including the YouTube and also this Facebook Live and Zoom. Okay, so it now it will be my turn. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So now this is my short presentation. This is slum in Uganda. When I went there to teach valuation, I also try to study slum in this city as well. And this is myself. I am the president of the FFC Thai, as well as the Thai Real Estate Business School. I was also the chairman of the Thai Homeless Foundation called Isara Chon, the foundation for the homeless. I just resigned and let other people to be the chairman after me. So I'm also dealing with the homeless. And I just like to show you, this is the picture of the airland area, one piece of land here in Bangkok. This is some shopping centers and also some housing here. This photo is today. You see, it is no more slum here. They take a long time to demolish them. Unfortunately, they demolish them. And this picture show you that this is the whole slums staying here. I went there to conduct some survey, say 20 years ago. And later, they also have a mosque here. And then this is happened. This is in the year 2013. Now 2021, so it is around 8 years ago. It is still here, but then they disappear. You can see now it is disappear. unfortunately, actually, we should find some other alternatives instead of demolish them. And this is the land title. You can see here, this is one piece of land, the land title. And this piece of land is belong to the Expressway Authority. But this is a big piece of land here. So in the future, there will become some real estate development. So this is the case that I'd like to present to you. I have some calculation for your for this presentation, but this is in PowerPoint, so it may be you cannot be visualized clearly. So let me put it to this. So this is something about the. Okay, so this is something about the presentation. I hope you can see this. Yeah, you can see this land area is around 25,600 square meters. This is the approximate size, approximately the size of this slum, 25,000. So it will be around 2.5 hectare, around 2.5 hectare. But to be exact, it is 25,600. And the land price per square meter in US dollar today, it is 12,500 US dollar. So this is the case of this slum today. It is quite expensive. And the total land value now, because it is vacant, it is around 320 million US dollar. This is a big amount of money. And the total number of housing units here before the demolition is around 300 housing units. There may be some sublet of rooms in the big house, and then they may sublet. That may be another story. But for the structures, there are around 300 housing units there. And the monthly rent per unit is around $333 per month. This is quite a big amount of money because one house may be sublet to 1 or 2 or 3 housing units. So it can be around $333 US dollar per month. And the total annual rent, it is around 1.2 million US dollar, 1.2 million US dollar. And this is the annual rent. And we know that the value of a property is the annual rent divided by the capitalization rate is 5%, approximately 5%. This 1.2 million US dollar, we do not subtract any expenses. We said it may be net income. There may be some collection fee or maybe some other management fee, but in slum there should be not much. So we just say that 1.2 million US dollar is the gross, and also the net income. So we use the net income divided by the capitalization rate of 5%. Nowadays, the capitalization rate for apartments may be around 5-6%. So we make this 5%. So actually, you can see that the slums that I just showed you, 300 units, they can be the value can be only 24 million only. If it is kept to be slums, and if we suppose that this slum is a squatter settlement, it is not illegal, it is not legal slum, it is a squatter settlements. In this case of the squatter settlements, they have no security of land tenure. But if we assume that they can stay there forever, we just use the net income 1.2 million divided by 5%, it may be 24 million. By the way, every year there may be some growth of the net income. So in this case, the total value may be a little more than 24 million, but maybe around 30 million. But we just assume to be 24 million. So if this piece of land is slum only, the value will be only 24 million because they cannot do anything else. They cannot densify, they cannot earn more money because these makeshift dwellings, the rent should be very low. So only 24 million. But actually, the total land value alone is around 320 million. So this means that the excess value beyond slums will be 296. So when they demolish slum, they can realize this 320 million US dollar. But if they do not demolish them, that piece of land with makeshift dwellings may have only the value of 24 millions. That is why there are some developers, they are not there to buy this piece of land and demolish and also evict these people. Some of them may hire some gunmen or military men or police power to demolish or to chase them away. So that is the problem. So this is just to show you that if it was slum, will be only 24 million US dollar for the whole community. They cannot because they have no alternative use. They just use it for slums, very low value. But if they can be converted to do something else, it will be 320 million. So this is a really big difference. And this big difference will be able to do something. You can see that then on line number 15, I said that if we share 15% of this piece of land is around 35,600 square meters. If we share 15% of them for slum people, so that we will densify them to stay in vertical buildings. 15% is around 3,840 square meters. In this case, if we build on the floor area ratio of 4:1, say the land is 3,840 square meters, we can build 4 times more. We can build 10 times more. But for slums, we should not build too high, because they may be too costly for the electricity, for the lift, the escalator or something. So we said only 4 times of the land. So we will build around 15,360 square meters. And if you can build 15,360 square meters, we said that the lettable area will be only 70%. 70%. We cannot use the whole building because some may be common area, staircases, and something else. So it will be around only 70%. So the net lettable area will be around 10,752. You see this 10,752 square meters, and the size per family will be around 36 square meters. So 36 square meters may be not so big, but just maybe ample enough for them to stay there, because they stay on the squatter settlements. But if we entitle them to stay on these 36 square meters, it should be ample for them to stay. And this also happened in many cases in Thailand. And normally in Thailand, for the lower income housing, the building, the lettable area per unit may be as low as 23 square meters per unit. But here we will allocate for them around 36 square meters per unit. And then the cost of construction per square meters will be around 500 US dollar per square meters. So the total cost of construction will be around 7.68 million, 7,680,000 US dollar. And here you can see that the total land for the sharing part, that is 15%, at around 12,500 US dollar per unit per square meter, is around 48 million, including the construction cost. So altogether, this new construction will be around 55 million. We should invest this 55 million on the proportion of land of around 15%, so that the rest 85% will be for some other uses. So altogether, we can see that we have to invest 55 million. And also we have some other costs. What are other costs? Other cost is the demolition of the old buildings. We have to demolish. Say one unit will be around $2,000 to demolish, so that to pave way for the new construction. So the demolition cost will be 600,000 because we have 300 units. And then we have to have temporary relocation for 2 years. The construction may last 2 years. So we have to move them to rent in a rental quarters or somewhere. And that is around 10,000 $333 per month per units. And this is around another 2.4 million. 2.4 million. So the final estimate is that the value of the land left is 600 and 261. This is the value after sharing. You can see altogether it is 320 million, right? 320 million. We minus what we minus? We minus this. We minus the reconstruction cost of 55 million. We minus the temporary relocation and also demolition. So altogether, the value of the land left is around 261. So the percentage of the whole land value, the proportion of the whole land value is 82%. We have to allocate around 18% of the land and construction, the value as a whole for these quarter settlements, so that they can stay there. So in this case, these quarter settlements will be entitled to stay there as a permanent tenure. However, one problem that occurs is that normally when we allocate them the house, they may sublet, or maybe they may rent the house for other people and they take the money and go away. Or maybe they can just invite their relatives or friends to stay there and then they just go up country or something. So in this case, we may have to have some regulation that you are entitled to stay there forever. But whenever you want to buy a house in an open market, you want to buy a townhouse, you want to buy a detached house or bungalow house, or you want to buy a better condominiums, a better owner-occupied apartments outside this community, you have to cancel your right so that other people can come, or maybe the owners may just take over for their employees or something. If you are better off, you are welcome to leave, but you cannot sublet, you cannot give away to other people, or you cannot lease it out to any other people. So this will be able to solve this problem that occurred reiteratedly in the past. And then one thing I like to show you is that this is the alternative development for the rest of the land. The alternative development, you can say that the land left is only 21,760 square meters. Say if the floor area ratio is 10, if we can build commercially 10 times. So this is the total buildable area is around 217,000 square meters. But the percentage of lettable area is only 60%. It is not 70% because this is commercial, maybe like cities condominiums, city owner-occupied apartments for the middle income or higher middle income group or anything. So the total lettable area is around 130,000 because another 40% should be for common areas. And the price per square meters is around 6,000 per square meters. because it is located in the hub of the city. So the value of the development is 783. You see, if we can allocate some part of land for them, and then this plan of around 300 million can make around 783 million return. In this case, the developer may allocate some funds or something for the slum people so that they can stay maybe in a better life, or maybe some scholarships or something, some fund for them, maybe allocate some 50 million or something. That is the thing that for negotiation. And if they can make the money 783 million today, if it is today around 783 million, you can see that the taxation, the tax for the nation as a whole, how much they can earn they can contribute to the society. You can see that the annual property tax, say if in the case of USA, on the average, you have to pay property tax around 1.5% per annum. For in the case of depending on the property value. Say in this case, I just assume to be only 1% at around 5% capitalization rate. In this case, you can see that this 156 million. What is the 156 million? 156 million is this C40, that is 783 million multiplied by 1%. So it is around 7.8 million. And then we divide it by 5%. So this will become the property tax that can accrue for the whole period is around 156 million for the nation, or at least for the municipality in particular. Say if in the case of Bangkok, this amount of money, 156 million, is the money that we can earn out of the development of 783 million. So the local authorities or the municipalities or the government can earn this money. Another tax that can get is the capital gain tax. Say if in the case of 70 years, in the next 70 years, if this property is sold for 300%. So the capital gain is mean that they will get around 2 times, because 783 million is the beginning price, but in the next 20 years it may become 3 times. So around 14 million. 1,014 billion. Yeah, 1.4 billion. Yeah, this 1.4 billion they may be charged for 20%. 20% of that is around 118. You see, this is the figure came from 118. Here, I just show you the formula here. 118 million will be from the capital gain tax if in the future they sell it sooner or later, if they have to sell it. Or there may be some other tax, like in London, there may be some many other tax, income from rent or something. But in this case, just 2 major tax. If we have these 2 major tax for this commercial properties, this is not really commercial, but maybe like a higher middle income owner occupied apartments. So in this case, this is the tax that they can get together. So altogether, it may be around 260 million, 270 million tax that can be acquired from this piece of land, if in the case that they develop to be like a high price walk-up apartment or high price or owner-occupied apartments. But at least you can see that at the beginning we can materialize this because we unlock the use of land. Formerly, the land use here is just only for slum development. They may be in the future, they may densify, sublet smaller rooms for people, but the money that earned will be very low because it is substandard housing. Many people who stay in slums, they also like to move out of the slums because they want their children to get better off or something in the future. So in this case, if it is slum, the value will be really low because they cannot earn anything. But if we can unlock the potential to do for commercial development, and if we allocate, say, 15% or 20% of the land for allocated for commercial development, in this case, we can do something better. So this means that we can still keep slum people to stay there. They have no need to move away, except for those who really want money to move away. But we don't want them to move away because their children, their jobs may be just around there. So they just stay there. But if they are hawkers, they may have to go on the lift or something. That happened in slum, that the Crown Property Bureau also built high-rise, say maybe around 20 stories condominiums for the slum people, and they can. It is proof that they can stay there, even if it is high-rise building. But this one is floor area ratio will be only 4:1. It is not really high-rise building, maybe 5 or 6 stories, but they still have to use lift. So in this case, they should be able to stay there. But we will allocate them to stay for 36 square meters per unit. 36 square meters per unit. But if we allocate the land not 20%, not 15%, but become 20% or 1/5, we can build a unit larger than this. But 36% is the size that normally for the lower middle income or even for the middle income group, they stay 33 or 30 or less than 30, maybe 23 square meters per unit already. So this is the solution. But one thing I like to show you is that the feasibility, this financial feasibility is feasible because you see online on this forum here, is because land price is really high. This is $12,500 per square meters because this slum is located in the hub of the city. That is why the price is really high. So it is really financially feasible to do this. But for slums in the outskirts, maybe not feasible to do that. But at least we can do some cost recovery. The cost recovery is that when we earn money out of the slum in the hub of the city, we can have this fund, and this fund can be used to upgrade slum in the fringe because we have no need to rebuild them, just do some improvement, and that should be not much a problem for not disturb them too much. One thing I like to show you is that here, this money is around 12,500. But if this piece of land is only, 937. If this piece of land is worth only, let me just push. Okay. If this piece of land is $937.5 US dollar per unit. So I just copy this here to here. If this is $937 per unit, and the rest are the same, the rent per month are the same, you can see that there will be no excess value because the land value of that area is really low. So if that is really low, so we cannot do this proposition. Because land price is too low, 937. Yeah, but we can materialize because land price in the city is really high. So there will be many slums in the city that in the hub of the city that we can do this approach, and we can still let them stay there in their community, but in the new form, not on overcrowdedness, no more overcrowdedness, but high density. There will be no overcrowdedness, but high density, because they will be on elevated buildings. So in this case, that may be something that they have to adjust themselves. They cannot just stay on the shanty town or in slums or squatter settlements, but they have to be in this case, and they also have to pay for the maintenance fee. In this case, we assume that when they stay there in the new house, they have no need to pay anything, because this is all allocated for them, except electricity, gas, or a maintenance fee that they have to pay. And they are entitled to stay there forever, in as much as they won't move away from this. If they move away because they are richer, in that case, they just cancel their right, and then they just move out of the community, bye-bye, with peace and also mutual understandings, because they are rich already. They have no need to stay there. Maybe these projects, the units left can accommodate other low-income people to stay. So this is the proposition for me here. So this is what I just to show you, and this is just to show you that I went to Mother Teresa Tom some times ago in the past to pay respect to him, to her, sorry, and she has been very grateful and very helpful for slum people, but their community still stay there because they have no money. I saw some of our participants here said that if we have money, we can help solve this problem. But we have money and no corruption. But have money and corruption, it won't help either. So this is some proposition. If there is any, Ms. Cherry said that maintenance has to be factored in. Yes, that is. And otherwise, things will be deteriorated into crime, perhaps using a factor amount for baseline. This should be, and we also can hire volunteer from the community. If we have a community of 300 households, we may hire at least 2 security guards. For security, there will be altogether 6 security guards to walk around the community, the apartments. So in this case, it should be quite safe. And we can have also key guards in the new modern condominiums. So in this case, if we have ample amount of maintenance fee, it should be a good idea to do that. So this is just any other thing else? Yeah. So this is just some of my presentation. So thank you very much for your attention. Maybe if you have any ideas or any comments, you are open to do so. And before you do that, our 2 speakers, Professor Shlomo Angel and Mr. Dr. Rajvandari, you may kindly contribute a bit, or maybe say something before the participants to say something. Professor Angel, do you have anything to say, sir? Professor Angel, are you still there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you, sir. You can highly contribute something.
Yes. What I wanted to say is that I like your presentation, and I think that these land sharing schemes that you're proposing are very useful ways of incorporating new real estate developments while keeping the people there. I think that keeping the people there is the fundamental principle. Thank you.
We should not chase them away. Yeah. Dr. Om, any contribution, sir?
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session, and it's very learning sessions too from both of you, from Professor Safalangal as well as from you too. And I have shared my presentations to you, so you can share to the participants also regarding that presentation. So any informations on the slum improvement to the good neighborhood from the participants also will be highly appreciated, so that we can improve our own cities and further into the world. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sapon.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Anyone would like to say something, sir? Madam? You can raise your hand. Now, Professor Ancho, maybe you can kindly send your slide to me too, so that I can just share to our colleagues, and also you may put your email so that people can contact you, because you are the greatest expert in housing so far as I know, because you are my professor.
Okay, I will do that. I'll just do it right now.
Okay, yeah. So send it to my email, sir. Okay. Okay. Since there is no other contribution, so I may have to end this session, because now it is 8:14. Normally, I slept at around 8:30 because I got up a little earlier at around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so thank you everyone to come to this session, and then I hope that in tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will send all these files and presentation, and also put this into YouTube so that you can see it more easier, and so that I can cut the first part, that is just only the beginning, that I did not talk anything because I want to have some preparation. So after we do some remedy or something, we will send to you as soon as possible. So let me thank Professor Shlomo Angel and Dr. Omraj Bandari for today's session, and as well as all of us here. Thank you very much. Good night and good morning to Professor Angel. Now you are at around 6 o'clock in California. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye, sir.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye, sir. Wait, học nghe quá.
Recording stopped.